Hey guys, it's Victor Siwunzik here. Welcome to my first episode of Railworks Reviews. Today we are looking at the Burlington Racetrack, known as the Q, the Burlington, or BNSF Chicago Subdivision. We're going to be taking a ride today from Aurora, where we are now, to the Chicago Union Station, making stops until Downers Grove Main Street, and then running express, I'm pretty sure. So, just to clear things up about why I'm calling it Railworks Review instead of Train Simulator, that's because there are so many train simulators out there these days. Microsoft Train Simulator, Railworks, Trains 12, or Trains New Era, that I didn't want to cause any confusion. So that clears that up. So let's see if my bell is going to start working. Nope. My horn does work though. Guess we'll have to run under the restriction that my bell doesn't work, but at Westiola we're going to join the main line, which is currently to the right of us. Let me see if I can get a look at it. There it is, just on the embankment just past that parking lot. It's a major freight corridor between Chicago and the west for BNSF. Union Pacific's equivalent is the Geneva sub, which does not yet have a route of it in Railworks, although I would like to see that one day. I do apologize for the poor frame rate. It does perform much better when I'm not live streaming or recording anything for that matter. But anyway, the first outbound of the day coming into Aurora. Some signal indications we are clear to proceed eastbound. First intermediate stop is Route 59. Alright, here we go. Let's turn off the headlight for now. Like I said, I have a problem with this frame rate, but whatever, we'll deal with it for now. I do plan to get a better graphics card. And by the way, those of you who watch my channel, you will know that one of my favorite railfan spots along this line is this passenger station at Hensdale, which we will not stop at on this run. Although more recently, I haven't been spending as much time on the racetrack. And this due to a variety of factors. Then in the summer, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Burlington. I prefer the Northwestern during the summer because it just gets so hot outside that it's just that the shadows don't really line up with where the side of the tracks I want to photograph from. So this essentially leaves me with a sunburn, which was the problem I had after spending 10 and a half hours there back in June. You may recall that if you regularly watch my channel. On the left up, we'll be passing right now, is the Aurora Commuter yard. We've used this route quite a few times. It's a good route, although it does lack in a few relatively minor details. The thing that I particularly don't like is that you don't have enough space to put a long Amtrak train at Union Station. There are videos out there of longer trains like the City Series in Union Station using the track that runs through from the North Concourse. Unfortunately, I cannot do that in here, but other than that and similar things, it's a pretty good route. So we have a clear signal up here. You can see that we're getting somewhat close to the main line. We have to see if there's a way I can solve this problem. The bell isn't working properly. Let's see what other views we have. We can use. This passenger view isn't as good, although this is a fairly accurate representation of what Metro's passenger cars look like. Recent rebuilds have different seats, as in the Chicago area rail fans would know. Here we have a signal that's telling us we're going to be crossing onto main track 3, which is normally the inbound track. Sometimes they do operate wrong main here, especially in the cases of breakdowns or just heavy traffic. Sometimes it could be track work. Amtrak runs 4 trains each day over this line, which stop at Naperville, which will be one of our stops. That sound when I shift the throttle is really one of my biggest issues with the equipment. I have installed mods for this route and for several others. This is our power. Fairly typical for Metro in general, but not so for this line. Metro and the BNSF Southwest Service normally use the F40 PHM-2s, which have a different nose. This is the perfect locomotive for the Union Pacific lines, though. Also, you will not see any of the MP36s out here. The reason for that is a little bit complex, but what I've heard is that they had some mechanical difficulties. And considering this line is the heaviest rush hour traffic of any of Metro's lines, any breakdown of an MP36 would be a real problem, especially if it was providing head-end power. And in the winter, anyone who's ever been to Chicago in the winter knows that that's a real problem that we have around here. Last winter, I had to dig my car out of about 3 feet of snow. That's the other thing I don't like about this. So now we're on the main 3. By the way, there is no main 4 until we get to Cicero. The track to the right of us is actually a yard holding track for longer freight trains during rush hour. There's a ban on freight operating over the Burlington, preferably during the rush hours. But we're in Eola Yard at this point. An old grade crossing, which is currently behind our train, past the signal bridge. If you look way down there, almost to that fence, that used to be a rail fan spot for me until I realized it's a little bit better when you get closer to Chicago. In fact, Metro trains pick up speed, more express runs, and that sort of thing, as well as the fact that there you don't know when something's going to block your shot. There could be something switching, or track work. For those of you who don't know, this is one of the busiest railroads in the country, seeing about 150 Racetrack commuter trains, such as this one, every weekday, plus just Amtrak's California Zephyr, Southwest Chief, and the Illinois Zephyr and Carl Sandburg every day. Amtrak's kind of rushes in the afternoon, although considering their on-time performance, you never know. Run-through power is very common here. Positive train control was recently installed, leading to some major issues in terms of scheduling, crowded trains. How the schedules work here, I'll include a link to the schedule at some point, but how the schedule works is that there are express trains. That's usually the points where trains start stopping are LaGrange Road. This is going out from Chicago. LaGrange Road, Hensdale, Downers Grove, Naperville are the major ones. So essentially, what you'd consider say a Naperville Express would skip all stops until Naperville and then make a stop at Naperville on Route 59. Not Aurora for those trains due to platform length restrictions placed on those longer 10 or 11 car trains. But the problem that I've noted in the schedule is if one is traveling between suburbs during the rush hour, there are a bunch of express trains. But you have to walk between stations to make a transfer, which is something that someone should probably let Metro know about. They have one all-stops local each day. Weekend service is fairly frequent, especially when compared to some other commuter lines. For example, Virginia Railway Express, I don't think they have any weekend service. Correct me if I'm wrong. Martha, Maryland Area Rail Commuter doesn't have any weekend service on two of its lines. Anyway, right here is the Canadian National Overpass. I believe I want to say that's the Freeport Subdivision, the former Elgin, Joliet, and Easton, or the J as it's called around here. Route 59 is in the city. It's in the city of Naperville, and as you might know, this is a more industrial area along the line. Essentially, I think I'm going to try to run the train from the camera perspective of out the window. Due to the fact that the frame rate isn't too great in the cab. I will see if I might be able to fix that problem with the bell for my next video on this line. But it sounds pretty good from inside the cab when it's working. I guess for now I'll just do what they do in New Jersey and everywhere else, and just blow the horn before entering the station. That horn is somewhat close to being accurate. I'm not sure what horn this is. I want to say it's some version of a K5LA. As you might be able to see, this is This is a newer station. It was built in the early 2000s. It was one of those park and ride stations because Naperville was getting too busy. There's a large paid parking lot. I have taken the train from here once. In terms of practice where trains stop on the platform, it really depends on the engineer. But you can see that the interior of the cab is detailed fairly well. The lights are decent. I've never been in the cab of a Metro cab car, but this looks pretty good based on the photos that I've seen. We have the radio. This is the radio receiver here. A bunch of buttons. A lot of them I don't even know what they do, to be honest. And that door closing announcement is part of the mod. I have heard it was taken from a real car. And based on all the times that I've taken it, it sounds pretty accurate for almost all Metro cars. All Metro cars, to be honest, because of the what they need to do in train sim is create the old Burlington bi-levels. Those are the ones with usually smaller windows. They're in the 700 series if you want to look them up. They're technically owned by BNSF, the successor to the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy that built this line. Zooming in ahead, there's a small freight yard for a few Naperville industries. The entire premise of commuter train operations is making quick starts and stops, which I'm having a bit of a problem with. Usually Metro trains are, or at least the longer ones, are running about 30 miles an hour when either the last car or engine leaves the last part of the platform. So in a way, that part is inaccurate. I do think that the route could use a little bit more detail, especially on those texture seams. And also future note to any route builders, please don't put signs in the middle of the right-of-way. You know, they do that on some railroads, but it doesn't work on triple track or more. Our first grade crossing is coming up pretty soon. It's past the girder bridge. It's between that girder bridge and the signals. Even though this is a quiet zone, I can't use my bell for some weird reason, so I'll just use my horn. You know, see, whistle QZ is quiet zone. And that's pretty much the entire line east of Aurora is a quiet zone, although some engineers, particularly Amtrak men, do use the horn. Also, the grade crossing sounds are more than slightly off from the actual sounds. In general, it's an average quality route. I do recommend it, especially for like urban and suburban railroading. This is big time railroading. Our next stop is Naperville, which is the station where I usually board. As you can see, I chose a scenario that actually takes place partly before sunrise. That was just in a vain attempt to improve the frame rate. I did also, the engines don't sound exactly right, and for proof of that, you can check my many videos of Metra trains. Now we're coming into Naperville. This siding here is not used very much in reality. It's usually used for bad order equipment, maintenance vehicles, and those kind of things. Our second grade crossing is just after the station, but we're not going to go for it now since we're stopping. On lines like this, everything is always changing. To build an accurate route at one point is to make it outdated by the time you would ever release it. So essentially, a general modern era reproduction of the route is pretty good. You can see all that over there is a parking lot, although the spaces extend closer in real life. This is where Amtrak trains stop, picking up passengers bound for the west or dropping off passengers from the west. The depot is a good building. Amtrak has a ticket office, although as a warning to anyone wanting to try riding Metra, almost all ticket offices, except for those at Union Station and other downtown stations, they're all closed on the weekend. So just check your ticket office hours. If you get on while a ticket office is open, you may face a $5 surcharge from the conductor for tickets. Metra's fare hike has been controversial in the Chicago area. Pretty much everyone hates it, but well, these commuter trains aren't going to maintain themselves. So in a way, I somewhat agree with fare hikes to a certain point. I think at some point they become too much, though.
The doors are about to close.
Alright, so our next stop is going to be Lyle. We're going to blow for the grade crossing up here. Up ahead is the famous or infamous, depending on your perspective, the Naperville Curb, which was the site of a fatal wreck in the late 40s, in which on the number 2 track, which is the center track, the westbound exposition flyer rear-ended the westbound advance flyer. well, this, in my opinion, the F40PH locomotives, they are good locomotives. But you might hear about frequent breakdowns on the Burlington, but those are often because perhaps an engineer blew out a traction motor. I was on a Union Pacific West Line train a couple of years ago when the traction motor blew out. It needed to be pushed back into Northwestern Station by a Union Pacific switcher. Metro's oldest locomotives are about 40 years old now. There's been talk about replacing some of these engines. To be honest, nowadays putting F units in commuter service would be more reliable than trying to keep these F40s running. And yes, before anyone from out of state asks, Metro did have F units and E units at one point. And as more of the F40s came in, the E's and F's were taken out of service, and this line was where the last stand for E units in general passenger service in most of the country. So, okay, that's fairly inaccurate. You have a freight train, which did not operate at this time. And that brings me to, I have to say, is my biggest complaint about the route, which is the fact that they included GP38-2s as modern era road locomotives. Oh yeah, as well as tank car, as well as the fact that oil trains have no buffer cars on this route. So, if you want a more accurate scenario, try something from the steam workshop, which is what this route is, but they're trying not to use anything that wasn't from this route. And ironically, there are 2 buffer cars at the end of this particular train. Although this isn't represented accurately in Railworks, but almost all passenger equipment in America has this Mars light. Unfortunately, in this one, it's not too great of a Mars light. Excuse me. The Mars light, it's basically easier to see from a distance, especially from an automobile. In fact, automobile accidents was the original reason why Mars lights were introduced first on the Burlington Zephyr. If you look at the map of this whole line, the stations out here are fairly far apart. This is Aurora, where my mouse says the West Chicago branch. This is Chicago, Western Avenue Yard, Cicero Yard, the CN connection, Belt Railway. No, that's the IHB down at Commerce Park. I do recommend this route to anyone wanting to experience urban and suburban railroading. I would recommend getting the mods for it. And what I found is that with the mods, there's a README file that clearly explains how to install them. All you need is a file and zipping program like WinZip, Well, these were 7Z files, so whatever works on your system is what I would go with. I personally use a free trial copy of WinRAR. It does bug me about paying for a subscription, but it doesn't really matter. All that I'm doing is just unzipping these files, dragging them to where they need to go. Wow, it took this long to get up to about 70. Excuse me. We're coming into Lyle. In Train Simulator, this is a station that I tend to overshoot. But it doesn't have the longest platform. I have to say that Naperville has to have the longest platform other than Union Station. But this is another more modern station. That bridge back there was Illinois Route 53. Which actually runs quite close to my place. Essentially, I can follow 53 and get to where I am. But for a certain part of the line, it is grade separated. Although between Downers Grove and Laverne, which is west of the Cicero Yard, there are fairly frequent grade crossings, as we'll see. I seem to be running fairly close to on time. Well, all of us in the rail fan community know that Amtrak's lateness has become pretty much a punchline. Metro doesn't consider a train late until it's 6 minutes late at its final destination, which happens too frequently, I have to say.
The doors are about to close.
The next station, Belmont. Belmont Avenue there used to be a grade crossing. It was a huge bottleneck in rush hour, with frequent express trains and the long freights that come just after rush hour. I'm not sure exactly when they did it, but they grade separated it, essentially completely rebuilt the station, put in multiple large parking lots, and it's a fairly good station to ride from now. Before, if you were traveling by car, forget about getting home within half an hour. Essentially, the grade crossings for major roads have been removed. So now most of the crossings are for side streets, neighborhood roads, a couple of pedestrian-only grade crossings. In terms of the kind of area this is, anyone who watches the news knows that Chicago is notorious for its gun violence. I won't get into politics here, but it's not the whole city. The south and west sides are particularly bad. Why Metro makes few stops there. Between Berwyn and Downers Grove is mostly a fairly affluent area. Home prices there can actually get up into the millions. If you went to real affluent areas, up to the North Shore, Union Pacific North Line, and places like Highland Park, Glencoe, Evanston. Those are very expensive. They're nice towns. The stations are excellent. They have many of the stations that even have permanent coffee shops in them. Always makes me wish I could commute from there. But it also has a lot of railroad history in that area. With the North Shore Line. You know, explain to people what the North Shore Line was. It was the interurban electric railroad running between Loop and down to Chicago and Milwaukee. The shoreline was very busy. It was great separated into the Great Depression. Anyway, I could talk a whole day about the North Shore in another video. So, we just passed the wastewater treatment plant for the village of Downers Grove, which we are now in. And then Belmont is located on a curve, so depending on the lighting and where you're standing, it can make a very good photograph. I've gotten several excellent ones from here before. It used to be one of my favorite rail fan spots. Until I took one look at the schedule and saw how many trains terminated Fairview Avenue down the other side of Downers Grove. This station is interesting in the fact that its architectural style is somewhat similar to the Santa Fe. Here we have another one of the Racetrack commuter trains, sometimes called scoots. There are not that many outbounds at the time when this scenario is supposed to take place. You can see, it's a 4-lane road. It's pretty busy, so you can see why they grade separated it. So there are about 200 trains a day through here on average on a weekday. Weekend, it's not nearly as much of a problem. But the stations are somewhat varied in their architecture. You'll see something more modern, like
The doors are about to close.
Some stations have a much more modern design, like Route 59 or Lyle or Harlem Avenue. And some of a fairly generic station design, like Naperville or Hensdale. Downers Grove is a fairly unique station architecture style, and that's our next stop. There was a wreck there that happened also in the late 40s. The ICC report stated that a tractor fell off of a westbound freight train using the number 1 track, which is this one where my mouse is. An eastbound Zephyr was coming on the 2 track, hit the tractor near the grade crossing and derailed and wiped out half of the station. Now there's little evidence of anything that ever happened there. I don't think there's even a historical plaque. The statue at Naperville commemorating what happened to the exposition flyer and advanced flyer at the curve. Well, near the town of Westmont, there's a curve, and after there's a long straightaway here, curve at Westmont, and then another long straightaway. That makes it very easy for rail fans because you can see easily in both directions. Signals are of particular use in terms of rail fanning, because especially you can see both directions. And I believe there are five signal indications here. There's solid red, which we all know means stop. Flashing red, which is stop and proceed at no more than 15 miles per hour. Solid yellow, proceed at 30, be prepared to stop at the next signal. Flashing yellow, which means proceed at 45. And then there's, of course, green, which we all know what that means. But normally, express trains, after I'm talking morning rush hour here, after making their last stop, they're usually routed on the track 2. Essentially, in the morning rush, tracks 2 and 3 are reserved for frequent inbound trains. It was the east half of the station over here that was knocked down by that derailment. You can now see that the track is at grade level, for the most part pretty close to it. I think that in order to make this route a lot more realistic, there's a lot of work that can be done on it. Maybe improving some of the trees and some of the foliage along the right of way. I think that making better cars for the route will certainly help. I would buy a re-release of this route. And this was actually the original reason I bought Railworks in the first place. Now we're just gonna see a typical scene in the morning of an eastbound train from Chicago departing. In a minute, that is. Sorry about the grade crossing bells. I think it's kind of annoying too. On the real thing, some of them only ring until the train passes or is stopped. This one would go up when a train is in the station. There's crossovers coming up they're called Fairview Avenue. Between the west end of Fairview Avenue and we'll see what the crossovers are. It starts when that 35-mile-an-hour speed restriction begins, using them. Cars that were introduced with these are well, I thought that would be a typical rush hour scene, but it turned out that it wasn't. Every once in a while, a freight will operate during rush hour. Usually it's something that's very short, maybe a few stacks. Just the local returning to the yard. You don't see those huge 10,000-foot freights actually during rush hour. These are the Fairview Avenue crossovers. We're now on main track 2, and that's where we're staying. In fact, the reason they have a middle track here is for express trains to not have to wait behind the locals, and this is what happens on some railroads, such as parts of Metro North or NJ Transit. It's been almost an hour since I started this. When I take the train, the express run actually feels pretty quick. This is a Pepperidge farm plant where they make products such as goldfish. Usually covered hoppers would be there, not boxcars. This route is usually $19.99 on Steam. As you have Train Simulator. When it's 2015 or later, you can get this, and it should automatically update. We've passed the Fairview Avenue station. And now we're coming towards Westmont, which has another fairly unique station. This is one of the few major road crossings left on the Burlington. That's Cass Avenue, which is the main north-south artery in this part of the suburbs. This is a fairly typical commuter station. Paid parking. The towns along this route many of the cities and towns along this line are essentially a mix between your average cookie cutter suburb and a very small town. A lot of them have their own business district, which is usually near the railroad tracks. Local business tends to thrive in this area. Just the station around this curve is Clarendon Hills. And then we're going to pass under Illinois Route 83. You can see from the signals we're probably going to pass a local pretty soon. On this line, there are limited service stops. We call them rush hour stops over here that are only served in rush hour. Those are West Hensdale, which is just past the bridge. Highlands is just past Hensdale. Congress Park is near the interchange with the Indiana Harbor Belt, just east of LaGrange. Laverne is just east of Berwyn, as I mentioned, west into Cicero Yard. And Halsted Street is pretty much close to Chicago. It's the first stop off for certain trains. West Hensdale. Just a pair of crossovers here for some trains that might need to switch tracks. This is often an area of concern in terms of track works. Often they have at least one track closed, and these crossovers at each end allow trains to go over it. Go around it, that is. In the distance, that's Hensdale. This is probably the most affluent community along the BNSF line. This is one of the towns where home prices get into the millions in the area. This is one of my favorite railfan spots. As I mentioned before, where I spent 10.5 hours. In the evening rush, which is much more common for me to watch here, I'm on this inbound platform just past the station. If you look at old photographs, there was well, this is clearly outdated. There used to be that wooden bridge right there, but it was replaced by a concrete bridge. There's a hospital over to the left, and we're approaching Highlands, which is a fairly nice place to watch trains. Probably do not go there much due to severely limited parking. Also due to its isolation from any nearby establishments like restaurants or gas stations or anything like that. We finally reached the maximum authorized speed limit of 70 miles per hour. I believe that is Interstate 294 right there. Interstate 355 is between Lyle and Belmont. We did not mention that, and sorry for that. It's fairly easy to follow the BNSF line on Google Maps or whatever map service that you use, due to the fact that it cuts right through the middle of some towns. The next station we're going to pass is Western Springs. The mileposts on this line are from Chicago Union Station. Western Springs just had its platform rehabilitated. I'm not sure if it's done yet. They had a major problem there. Essentially, they closed the eastern half of each platform, and that essentially left you with a 2-car platform, making it effectively the shortest on the entire line to that point. Caused delays, and it was just a general hassle for anyone commuting out of there or through there. on a local train. Now we're approaching LaGrange. The first station is Stone Avenue. And the main station for LaGrange is LaGrange Road, also served by select Amtrak trains. This is another one of my favorite railfan spots. LaGrange Road, that is, not Stone Avenue. Depending on what time you park at any of these stations, it could be free, especially on weekends. But also, there is a real-life cab ride available on Metra's YouTube channel. Two stations in LaGrange are mere blocks apart. And here's LaGrange Road coming up, just after I said that. We're about to pass over the Indiana Harbor Belt. Which side? It's the second bridge. It's this bridge coming up right here. After that is the Congress Park Commuter Station. See the Indiana Harbor Belt over here. Train activity there is fairly unpredictable. And I will continue this live stream later. Thanks for watching. The Racetrack route is available on Steam for $19.99. Thanks for watching. And if you want to support my channel, you can do so by subscribing. Thank you.